Something strange is happening in the world of documentaries. And today I'm diving into how politics, money, and control are reshaping the stories you see and don't see on your screen. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Austin Meyer. I am a Bay Area-based documentary filmmaker, National Geographic Explorer, and on this channel I share the field-tested skills, mindsets, and lessons that have helped me on my journey as a documentary filmmaker. As the documentary genre grows in popularity, there's a trend that I'm seeing. The films that push boundaries and tackle controversial subjects or social issues seem to be facing more resistance than ever. Instead of being embraced by the industry, many are being ignored, prevented by studios and distributors from reaching a broad audience. And I'm not talking about fringe conspiratorial documentaries being ignored. I'm talking about some of the most high-profile, critically acclaimed documentaries. Those that have been nominated for next weekend's Oscars. Those are the docs being stifled by the industry that I would hope would be promoting them. This isn't just a story about the landscape of documentary distribution. It's about how the media landscape works in the digital age. The control of what stories get told and how they're distributed has become increasingly centralized in the hands of a few massive streamers and corporations. And the result is a narrowing of the stories that we see, often based on what is considered the least controversial and the most commercially lucrative, AKA in our industry is true crime and celebrity documentaries. So what's really happening? Why are some of the most significant documentaries of our time being shunned? Well, today we're going to explore those questions by focusing on 3 documentaries from this past year. 2 Oscar-nominated films and 1 Oscar shortlisted film that showcase how big players in the industry are keeping important stories hidden from the public. By the end of this video, you'll have a better understanding of how documentary distribution works, why some of the year's best films can't find a distributor, and what you as a documentary filmmaker can and should do about it. So let's start by looking at the documentary No Other Land. No Other Land is a documentary filmed over the course of the past 5 years about the ongoing Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Here is the official synopsis. This film, made by a Palestinian-Israeli collective, shows the destruction of the occupied West Bank's Sefer Yatta by Israeli soldiers and the alliance which develops between the Palestinian activist Basil Adra and Israeli journalist Yuval Abraham. This film is probably the most lauded documentary of the entire year. It's won over 45 top documentary prizes, including a virtual sweep of the International Documentary Association top honors. And right now it's the favorite to win the upcoming Academy Award for Best Documentary Feature. And yet, when I talk about this documentary with people, almost no one has heard of it. Have you? If you're watching my channel, you probably love watching and making documentary films. So I'll ask you, have you seen No Other Land? If you live in the US, I'm going to guess that you probably have not. And that's because the film doesn't have a US distributor. You cannot stream No Other Land in the United States. So unless you're deep diving the back channels of Reddit threads to find a torrented link to watch on your computer, or using a VPN to stream from Europe, most of us here in the US have to see the movie the old-fashioned way. Here we are to see No Other Land. It's been a while since I've been to a movie theater, but like I said, can't stream this one, so I'm excited to be here in San Rafael to check it out. The question of why this film isn't available to stream on Netflix or Hulu in the US is an interesting one. I mean, here we have this group of 4 filmmakers risking their lives for 5 years to film and edit their first documentary, which, side note, not a bad start to your filmmaking career when your first documentary is the front runner for the Oscar. So they make their film, and when it's finished, they got a sales agent, and that person started to talk to potential distributors. The distributors in the US said the film was great, but they were not interested in buying it. So the filmmakers started on the festival circuit. They thought, hey, if the film has success and its profile continues to rise, then we'll get a deal. So it debuted at the Berlin Film Festival, where it won the documentary category, and soon after, the film landed distribution in many countries around the world, but not the US. Award after award after award, no US deal. An Oscar nomination, no US deal. So eventually, the filmmakers decided, screw it. We can't wait any longer to bring this to American audiences, especially since, as the filmmakers put it, the US's influence over Israel is the most direct lever that can be pulled to actually make change around the situation depicted in the film. So the filmmakers decided to do the theatrical release independently, and it's now showing in about 100 theaters in the US. I just came out of the movie. Extremely powerful. Wow. Zoe said,
whoa.
Zoe said she's feeling numb. Very, very powerful film. Check it out when you can, folks. Wow. Based on comments that industry insiders gave to Documentary Magazine, the film has been in a particular bind when it comes to finding distribution. The larger companies, who could release this film in a big way and offer a bunch of resources, may be scared away by its politics, while the smaller distributors that wanted to acquire it didn't have the resources to support a costly awards campaign and release a film of its critical stature and accolades, release it in a way that normally would. So one executive laid the blame solely on the constrained US doc marketplace. He said that the reason it hasn't been acquired in the US is solely an economic decision. The doc market is impossible now, especially if a film is seen as political. None of the streamers want these films. And you can see what he means. I mean, just log onto a platform like Netflix and see what documentaries are being bought, made, and served up. The top docs on Netflix right now are American Murder, Gabby Petito, The Search for Instagram's Worst Con Artist, Team USA Basketball at the Olympics, a Martha Stewart series. The only big documentary that Netflix has right now that even grazes a hot button issue is Will and Harper, which is about a trans woman. But it stars celebrity Will Ferrell, who happens to be one of Harper's best friends. So you see what I'm saying here. Look, these streaming platforms make programming decisions first and foremost based on what will make them a lot of money, what people will keep watching. The old way of figuring out what stories would drive that engagement were film festivals. Streamers would rely on film festival programmers to curate what audiences might like. And that's when we used to see a lot of documentary deals come out of festivals like Sundance. But the landscape is changing. Today, tons of Sundance premiered documentaries languish away on hard drives, never to be seen. Because streamers have data and algorithms that show them exactly what audiences like to watch. And here's what that looks like. This is a chart from Ampere Analytics in which they analyze the net hours of documentary content or genres added and removed from major streaming libraries globally between March of 2023 and February of 2024. So we have genres like travel, military, sports, food, historical, arts and culture, nature. See those huge blue lines on the left of every platform outside of Disney Plus? That is the true crime and thriller genre. Everything else is either slowly growing or actively being reduced. And it's easy to understand, right? If you're in the Netflix boardroom, think about how easy it is to send your crews out to make the next murder mystery that you know hundreds of thousands of people will binge watch. Or you can buy an observational documentary about the Israeli occupation of the West Bank that will be too intense for many viewers, upset people politically, and oh, by the way, enjoy that phone call you have to make to Netflix Israel in which you tell them you're about to release a movie about their military bulldozing the homes of farmers and an elementary school. All it takes is one regional arm of these major streamers to end distribution talks. And that was the story for the second film that I wanted to mention in this video that is also nominated for the upcoming Oscar for Best Documentary, and that is Black Box Diaries. Black Box Diaries comes from another first-time director named Shiori Ito, a Japanese journalist and sexual assault survivor who made headlines for bravely speaking out about her experience. The film documents Shiori's investigation into her own sexual assault, aiming to bring the prominent perpetrator to justice. Her pursuit evolves into a significant legal case, revealing the antiquated judicial and societal frameworks in Japan. Black Box Diaries is an amazing documentary. I highly recommend you check it out. And it is streaming. But like No Other Land, Black Box Diaries has also faced distribution hurdles due to the sensitive and political nature of the film. After many discussions with Netflix about a Netflix global deal, the streamer turned them down because Netflix Japan said no. Thankfully, MTV Documentary Films stepped up for US distribution, and it's currently in over 50 countries globally. However, there is one gap in their distribution, and you probably can guess where: Japan. Even when the film was nominated for an Oscar, and Shiori became the first Japanese director to ever be nominated for an Academy Award, the film still was not able to get distribution in Japan. So, similar to No Other Land, in which the gap in US distribution means that a key demographic of people who can influence the change that the film reveals is necessary, people in Japan don't have access to this story that sheds light on their culture's silence around sexual violence. And the last film that I want to touch on today illustrates how this issue of distribution and corporate influence truly is systemic. And that film is called Union. Union won the Special Jury Award at Sundance and was shortlisted for the 2025 Oscar. It has all the hallmarks of a documentary hit: a dramatic story arc culminating in a history-making news event, great access, a charismatic central character, fantastic reviews, and yet no one touched the film. In the end, the filmmakers turned to theatrical self-distribution in the absence of any major studio or streamer deals. So why did no one touch it? Well, the film documents how an unconventional grassroots group organized the first ever US union at an Amazon warehouse. And as you may know, Amazon is a little bit powerful, not just as a streamer themselves, but as a company that pretty much every platform does business with. The film's co-director Brett Story told The Hollywood Reporter that a couple of distributors said, really honestly, quote, "We have a working relationship to Amazon Studios, and we cannot risk that arrangement." He also told the New York Times that they were told outright that the big streamers are not interested in social issue documentaries. This turn away from social issue documentaries is also affecting larger companies in the documentary space. For 20 years, Participant Media has been Hollywood's preeminent maker of activist entertainment, backing socially conscious films like An Inconvenient Truth, The First Wave, American Factory, but the company never quite managed to do good while also making a lot of money, at least not consistently. And so, in the spring of 2024, Participant Media shut down. I don't want this video to be a complete downer, but as someone who absolutely loves the craft of documentary filmmaking, I just find this trend to be really sad. I get that these big companies need to make money. I get that in today's political and cultural environment, it's easier for them to just play it safe when it comes to purchases and programming of documentaries. But I also believe that these companies, valued in the hundreds of billions of dollars, have a responsibility to use their vast power and wealth and influence to move society forward. And that's what great independent documentary filmmaking about important issues of our time does. We need these kinds of films. We need films that challenge the status quo. We need these films that hold those in power accountable, that personalize the broad systemic challenges we face in our world. We need films that act as a catalyst for social change. So what does that mean for you? Well, firstly, to the documentary filmmakers watching this channel, you need to know that this is the current reality of our industry. If you want to make a living as a documentary filmmaker, if you want to dedicate your life to creating social issue documentaries, know that the odds of you doing so are low. It can happen. Social issue docs do get purchased for millions of dollars, such as the Oscar-nominated documentary Sugarcane, which Nat Geo purchased this past year for a low 7-figure number. But this is not the norm. This is an outlier. I say this not to discourage you from making important documentaries. I say this to make sure you have accurate expectations about the constraints and limitations that are placed on us as filmmakers. And to urge you to always have backup plans when it comes to getting your film out into the world, making an impact with it, and of course, making a livable income. The other thing I would say is to please go the extra mile to seek out and pay for the types of documentaries that you want to see more of in the world. If you want to see No Other Land, try to find it at a theater near you. If you want to see Union, go to their website and request a screening. When you see films that are being independently distributed behind paywalls, consider purchasing. It makes a difference not only to the filmmakers, but it also communicates to streamers that we are out here and we want to see these important, challenging films. Documentary filmmaking is an incredibly important medium for education, advocacy, and artistic expression. And we need to keep fighting for it. If you're curious about ways to raise money for your film when Netflix doesn't come dumping cash on your doorstep, check out this video. And if you have specific questions about your project, check out the link in the description to book a one-on-one call with me to discuss. I'll see you next week. And to wish you well, I have a special guest. Here he is. This is the newest member of Zoe and my family. This is Mac. He's a rescue who was found on the streets of Salinas, California. He's somewhere in the range of 8 to 10 years old. And Mac, we're going to say our catchphrase here to all the documentary filmmakers out there watching, okay? This has been a tough video. It's been a little sad, so we need to brighten it up with your presence, okay? We're going to say it. Ready? Don't fall asleep on me. Come on. Go out and tell some stories.